Zvino. Okay. So Anu said that he applied forgiveness, and this is the signature of what it must look like, and saying to all the dimensional beings, right, you're all now placed in these circular formation cones, and this is your forgiveness process. In other words, how effective your forgiveness process is in every circular ring, you'll advance to the point, and that is you through this forgiveness process. Now, what he did was, as the design of these circular cones, was that he placed there a dimensional hypnotic frequency magnetic design. So what will happen is he trapped all the beings, not trapped, okay, he locked in all the beings into these cone formations that was called the forgiveness process. Now literally all the dimensions, every single dimensional being was placed on these cones, and everyone started at the top. So there was about 10,000 beings around the top ring, so he had many of those placements in this huge container, and he stood there at the top and looked at everyone. And basically what this hypnotic dimensional frequency magnetic vibration did was, as the beings touched the top circular formation of the cones, that was called the forgiveness process, was that they'd be inserted with a frequency implant. Okay, it was this very, very tiny, like atom molecularly small device. Okay, it was really between my fingers there, microscopically small. I can't even really do it. It's even smaller than that. So it's really small. He placed it within them, but even the smallest devices can do the greatest harm. So what he did was he placed them in these circular round cones, and as they touched it from the circular round formation, it would spread into each and every single dimensional being. So that the center extra device within their mind, well, dimension, they don't have a mind in the dimensions, but I'm saying their mind, so that when Anu would say something, they'd do it without question. Okay, so he'd able to, for instance, speak words, but in the words there'd be a hidden message behind it. And then dimensional beings would actually do what he's saying to them they must do, but behind it he's programming them. He did that very well. So it's like he'd speak words, but then underneath the words there'd be codes spoken. So those codes would infiltrate into this hypnotic device within the center of the dimensional being's mind, and they would be hypnotized by Anu and basically do his bidding and calling, anything he wanted them to do. But to anyone else, the words seemed okay and normal. So he always took an opportunity to deceive, manipulate, control, empower himself in any way whatsoever. So the forgiveness thing was just another way for him to take his stand. And the dimensional beings apparently went through their forgiveness processes, but they didn't really at all. They applied forgiveness, but their starting point was still fucked. So the dimensional beings did a forgiveness process. They didn't understand what forgiveness they were doing, why they were doing it. They didn't question it. They just did forgiveness. Because Anu said that's the only way they can get back to Earth and to human beings. And that's all they understood. Okay, we must just apply forgiveness so we can get back to Earth. That's it. No purpose, meaning, reason for themselves. It was just to get back to Earth. That's it. And so the dimensional beings applied forgiveness. Now, in terms of winged being in the dimensions quite frequently, Anu had to do it this way. So that winged can come say to eagle, for instance, listen, Anu is doing this in the dimensions. He's now put everyone in rings of forgiveness, and he, he's applying forgiveness. He's now assisting and supporting everything in process. So he even deceived Winged for a while. Well, he deceived everyone in the dimensional existence up to a year. We were in contact with the dimensional existence. Well, Winged and Eagle was in contact with the dimensional existence for a year only. Only after then did both realize that Anu was deceiving all along. And he deceived the dimensional existence. So, for 1 year, it was a literal mess. A great, huge problem. So we had to start all over again after a year. Everything had to be started over again. The forgivenesses, our processes, everything. And Anu was sorted out appropriately. And we had to start over many, many times, multiple times. I can't even remember the amount of times we had to start over, because beings' starting point of assisting and supporting human beings as all as one is equal was not as self of self. It means if one falls in the dimensions, everyone falls. Yeah. You can imagine it's quite a process. And the same will be on Earth. So, doing that here in terms of Winged's experience in the dimensions and being here on Earth is how Winged and Eagle started discovering, the dimensions were in absolute separation, the white light was separation, the soul construct was separation, everything supported enslavement, but only, during that year it was never linked to Anu. Only after a year we went, Anu is beyond everything. Go figure. So, as Winged and Eagle both together started taking out systems, implants, started cleaning up heaven, etc. during that year, Anu tried everything in his might and power to, every time he'd come through Winged, he'd now trying to control the world and human beings, every time. He'd come in, he'd do something to try and fuck up this process so we stand as all as one is equal, because he wants his power. He wants his control. And he knew he basically lost heaven, because Eagle and Wing just did not stand for anything. And as we continue with this process, there were more and more dimensional beings starting to really stand up and understanding what has been accepted and allowed within the dimensional existence. So he tried to take over Earth and influence Earth again and human beings and fuck with them. So we do regular cleanups always of human beings to make sure that there's no dimensional being influencing. And if there is, we find the beings, we deal with them appropriately, and then we have to start over again in the dimensions because there was a slip up. Process is not simple. Thank you very much. This has been a